Hi, this is Dennis Dempsey. You are listening to the Faith in Humanity podcast. Hello everyone and welcome to Season 2, Episode 1 of the Faith in Humanity podcast. I hope you all had a wonderful new year and a happy holidays. I know I did. I had quite a relaxing time with family and friends, and now back to the grind. And I missed you all. I missed producing these podcasts. I was doing interviews on my time off, which is actually my favorite part of the podcast. It's not so much the editing and releasing stuff. It's more talking to people and getting to know their stories. And I talked to a lot of people in Season 1, and I learned a lot about religion, even about religions that I thought I really had a strong hold on it, specifically Christianity. And after talking to a lot of people, I really changed the way I view Christianity in a positive light. It really almost renewed my appreciation for the religion, and for that I am entirely grateful. But it also opened my mind and my eyes to other faiths that I knew very little about, and faiths that I thought that I knew quite a bit about. But it was incredible. It was an incredible experience, and there's some incredible interviews talking to some incredible people in Season 1. So I definitely suggest going back and listening to all those episodes, because you definitely don't want to miss out on anything. Not that it's necessary for listening to this new season, but I just think it's kind of essential for your own personal growth, because I found it monumental and so important to my personal growth. Now, just quickly before we get into the episode, because I'm really excited to present the first episode. This is kind of unique. I actually interviewed 4 different people at the same time, so be patient with the sound quality. We had a couple of mics that we kind of had people kind of sitting around in a certain area, so you'll hear in the transition that some will be a little bit further back, and then they have to get closer, and then they'll get louder. So just bear with a little bit of a wonky sound quality issue, but please look past that, because you're definitely not going to want to miss what's said in this episode. These guys are doing something incredibly unique, incredibly different, and in my opinion, inspiring. And I would love to hear what you guys have to say. So usually at the end of the episode, I do these announcements where I kind of talk about, subscribing to our Twitter page, liking us on Facebook. But I'm going to do that right now up front so you guys don't miss it. So be sure to follow us on Twitter. I'm quite active on Twitter. I retweet things, I post up things. So please follow us on Twitter at TFIH_podcast. Please follow us on Facebook. You can find us if you search the Faith in Humanity podcast. And you can also find us on YouTube at the Faith in Humanity podcast. I'm going to try maybe in this upcoming season to add maybe some visuals or some video on YouTube. Right now it's just the audio up there on YouTube, but it allows people to have a different avenue to listen to this podcast. So if you want to subscribe there on YouTube so that when I do start posting up videos, you don't miss it, that'd be fantastic. And be sure to rate us wherever you get your podcasts, because we really want to build this community. It's been building through the past year, and I've made a ton of friends, and it's been absolutely incredible, but I want this to continue to build. So please go and rate us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts, because that will help other people find our podcast. Now, one more thing before we jump into the episode. I just have to mention that last season I was releasing an episode every 2 weeks, whether that was a mini-sode, a clarification episode, or part 2 of a 2-part series, or even I think there might have even been a part 3 in there at some point. And there was always something being released in your feed every 2 weeks. That's going to change up a little bit this year. I've taken on more responsibilities. I started going back to school, so that's going to take up a lot of time, and also I'm working a full-time job, so there's just a ton going on, and I just know that I'm going to be setting myself up for a complete and utter mental breakdown if I try to be releasing episodes every 2 weeks. So it may be 3 weeks in between. It may be 2 weeks. Like the next few episodes will be in 2-week intervals, but sometimes it may be a little bit longer. So just be patient as I try to juggle all my responsibilities of life. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but I'm going to be trying to do it, and I really want to be getting stuff out to you guys. So I'm going to try my best to be on that 2-week schedule, but I can't make any promises this year. Either way, look forward to a fantastic season because I have a lot of things planned. I got a lot of awesome people that I've already talked to and also that I'm in the process of talking to have on the podcast. So there's a lot of exciting things going on. So definitely don't give up. Just be a little bit patient this year just because it's going to be a little bit more hectic than the previous year. All right. So hope you all enjoy the show. I met you guys just about 24 hours ago, essentially. Well, at least ish. Yeah. 24 hours ago. So first of all, it was snowing here in Georgia, which is pretty rare in general, and apparently rare for this time of year. I mean, I've only been living here for a year and a half, but everybody's been telling me that this was really, really rare. And it snowed a lot for Georgia. It was snowed essentially all day yesterday, and a little bit, and actually quite a bit this morning too. But anyways, I got off of work early, so I decided to go to the Kroger and pick up ingredients to make a soup for the soup party, Semsi soup party, and I won't go into detail about that. But essentially, it's just, my family gets together and we have a competition with who makes the best soup. So I started preparing and making soup. So I went to the Kroger. I saw this guy in a red track jacket, a Nike track jacket, and he was handing out CDs. And I kind of put my head down. I walked past him to get into the Kroger because I didn't want people trying to sling me a mixtape or anything. Honestly, that's really what I thought when I saw him do it. And not because he's a person of color. He happens to be a person of color, but it wasn't just because of that. But people stop. Believe it or not, down here in Georgia, they stop people all the time. I mean, they'll rap for you. They'll try to sell you their mixtape or whatever. So I was like, I just don't want to, interact with someone like that. And plus, I rarely carry cash, so I always feel so bad when they stop me because I'm just like, I don't really have anything to give you. But so coming out, Ish stopped me, and he quickly, I think he saw it in me that I thought it was a mixtape. Obviously, you must get that a lot because you were like, I'm not, this is supposed to be, I forget exactly what you said, but it was like, this is, we're missionaries from California. I'm a missionary from California. Just want to give out this DVD about, teachings of Jesus, about love and everything. And I was like, okay. And he's like, anything that you have, like, it'd be great or whatever. And I'm like, all right. So I think I gave you like 2 granola bars or whatever. And you were really grateful. I could see it in your eye. And you were genuine about it. So I was like, okay. So I put everything in my car and I'm driving home and I'm just like, something's itching and like something's burning in me. And I'm like, oh man, those eyes are looking at me. I'm like, I can't leave him out in the snow. I'm like, it's freezing. I'm being a missionary from California. I'm like, he doesn't make money. So I'm like, and you didn't ask for money at all. I mean, and I don't think you guys asked for money. I think you just asked for anything that you have.
Generally speaking.
Yeah. So I was like, where are they staying or whatever? Who is he staying with? So I quickly make a U-turn, an illegal U-turn actually, to get back there. And I drive back. I know. So I get back there. So I'm driving up and down the parking lot of the Kroger, and I find Ish again. But he's in the Papa John's parking lot now, slinging mixtapes still. and so I pull over. I'm just like, hey, dude, like, do you have a place to sleep tonight or whatever? And you're like, yeah, but you're staying in the RV or whatever. I was like, all right, well, I'm making soup if you want soup or whatever. And you're like, well, I'm here with 3 of my brothers. And you corrected. And you were like, not like my brothers. They're my brothers in Christ. But I was like, all right, yeah, it's totally right on. I was like, well, here's my number, my address and everything. If you guys want some warm food or whatever. And then sure enough, probably an hour from then, I got the call. Hey, is that offer still stand? I was like, yeah, definitely. And you guys just came over and just hung out all night. And, you had a good soup, maybe a winner. I'm not sure if I'm going to make it for the soup party, but I think you guys all gave a thumbs up vote to it.
I vote for it just for the heck of it.
Yeah. It was parsnip soup, which is something I never had parsnip before, and it was quite good.
Parsnip is delicious.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So I'm here with Ish, Leo, Lazarus, and Jude. Yeah, okay. I'm terrible with names, so I'm really glad that I got your names. But, alright, so it's pretty unbelievable, because obviously I talked to you guys relatively late into the night, and we talked about things, and all day today we've been just discussing stuff and having, I feel, awesome conversations about things, and it's been really incredible. But can you just give a brief overview of what you guys are doing? Yeah, one of you guys want to take that? Yeah.
I think probably the best way to sum it up is just that we are looking for people who want to follow Jesus, who want to actually live a Christian life in accordance with what Jesus taught. That's our sole mission, is to go out there every day and look for people that want to live by faith. That's what we call it, living by faith, which means that you are living in accordance with the teachings of Jesus, not the teachings of the church or even necessarily the teachings of the Bible, the whole Bible, but specifically the teachings of Jesus.
So why omit everything and just keep the teachings of Jesus?
It's not necessarily that we want to omit everything, but Jesus and his teachings have to be the cornerstone by which we judge all of these other teachings. So, for example, if someone comes to you and says, the Bible says this, then you say, okay, what did Jesus say? Somebody comes to you and says, Muhammad said this. Okay, what did Jesus say? So, really, I won't admit anything that lines up with the cornerstone.
So even if it came from the Islam faith, Buddhism, anything, if it lined up with Jesus, you're like, all right, that person is living for Jesus. They have a relationship with Jesus, even though they may not call him Jesus or her Jesus, and they're living for Christ.
In as much as they're following those specific teachings, yes. Yeah. I mean, obviously somebody could be practicing a teaching of Jesus, and yet the rest of their life they're doing this and they're doing this, and it goes totally contrary to what Jesus taught. Then I'd say, okay, well, these are the areas of your life in which you're not lining up with the cornerstone, but in this area you are. And so I would see that as a common ground. So we can stand together on that ground, and we can have fellowship on that ground. That's why I can relate to people who even are agnostics or atheists, because they may say, well, I don't believe in a God, so okay, there's our lack of common ground. I believe there is a God, but they may say, but I'm frustrated at the lack of love in the world, especially for people in the third world. All right, well, there's our common ground, because Jesus is also frustrated at that. Jesus is also wanting people to show more love.
And so by living the life for Jesus, how is that different from other people that are saying that they're living for Jesus? I mean, you guys are very unique.
Yes.
Incredibly unique. In fact, only 17 of you are in this community in the whole United States.
Yes.
But yet, I don't know what the percentage is, but millions of people in the United States would say, I'm a Christian. And I would include the Catholics with that,
absolutely,
too. So hundreds of millions probably of people would say, I am a Christian.
The whole world over.
Yeah.
Everyone's a Christian.
But you guys are you may want to you should evaluate using the term Christian.
Exactly.
And what that actually means.
And the reason for that is because in the book of Acts, it specifically says that the first disciples were called Christians at this particular city called Antioch. So the word Christian has been taken from the Bible, and the Bible itself says that a Christian is a disciple of Jesus Christ. So a Christian is not a fanboy. A Christian is not somebody that just kind of says, Lord, Lord, or oh yeah, I go to church. That was never the intention of the word Christian. A Christian literally means a disciple, that is one who is disciplined by or one who follows Jesus. Yeah.
And that's why that's why you believe that you can be a quote-unquote Christian, saved follower of Jesus, but not necessarily even have the title, formally, following the formal Christian religion, necessarily. If you're, a Muslim, but you're living out the teachings of Christ, well, then you're a follower of Christ, and therefore you'd be included in people who are saved. But you're saying that it's very difficult to follow the teachings of Christ.
Exactly.
And the reason for that is?
They're not popular.
They're not popular. Okay, so name some of the non-popular things that people may not know of. I would say the majority of my listeners are probably from the United States, and therefore probably have I would venture to guess that they would say, I have a pretty good understanding of what Jesus teaches. I have a pretty good, good foundation of what Jesus teaches.
Well, then I would challenge all of those listeners to name 10 things that Jesus
Without
told
cheating.
his followers to do without cheating. Don't open the Bible. Don't look through it. And these are 10 teachings of Jesus that he told his followers to do. So we're not talking about parables. We're talking about things that he said, do this or don't do this. Yeah.
And just for the record, can you tell my mother that how well I did on that one? First of all, it's pretty rare to get them. So.
You did very well. You did well. Okay, yeah. I should start by saying that probably the number of people we've found out there who have been able to do this, we could count on like one hand the number of people that have been able to do 10,
and this is
10 things.
Talking to pastors, people who
even pastors, even leaders in the church, evangelists, you name it. Regular Christians, non-Christians, most people can't do it. But yeah, you were able to do a solid 10, I believe.
Solid 10.
Because some of them were a little bit helped.
I was helped, but I got over 10.
But you did, and then you kind of went over 10 with other ones. So in the end, I would say a solid 10, but you might even be able to say 11 in there. Yeah, so you did very well. Yeah. But it took some time, and that's fine. I mean, because you yourself are not necessarily a professing Christian. So it was still amazing that you were able to do that. But here's the really interesting thing, is that a Christian is one who is a follower of Jesus. So it would be like, for example, me saying, okay, I'm a truck driver. I drive trucks. Somebody comes up to me and says, nah, you don't drive trucks. You're not a truck driver. Name 10 things that a truck driver does. I'm going to be able to tell you 10 things really, really quickly. Because I do it every single day. That's all I do. You know, I know how to operate a stick shift. I know how air brakes work. I know how much tire pressure I need. I know how many foot-pounds I need on the lug nuts. All that stuff. I can tell you these things and more very quickly because that's my job. So when you go up to a Christian and you say, can you name 10 things that Jesus told his followers to do, they should be able to tell you 10 things pretty quickly. It shouldn't be kind of like, oh, give me some time to think about this. Because they should be living it every single day.
Yeah, but being a truck driver, that's how you get your money and how you sustain yourself and how you survive. Now, you guys, I want to know how each of you got involved in this. This is pretty crazy because you guys travel. You are a baby step up from being homeless, essentially. Because you guys live in an RV, in was it 1986 RV, I believe?
That's right, yeah.
A 1986 RV. Sometimes you do go homeless for periods of time, but you don't have any other job but witnessing and teaching people the teachings of Jesus.
That's our primary
mission. So some
mission,
people would say, well, come on, that's not practical. Not practical in this day and age. I gotta live, I gotta eat, I got kids, so what would you say to those people?
I would say, am I not eating? Am I not living? Because I am. And I've been doing this for 7 years. And I know I have other friends who've been doing this for even longer than that. 20 years, 45 years.
Not only in this country, in other countries. How many other countries have you done this?
And
this is Leo speaking, by the way, because each one has different stories.
That's right. Yeah. I think I've been doing it now in 6 countries. Yeah, 6 countries.
Can you name the country? Just out of curiosity.
Europe and Africa. Yeah. And I was in Southeast Asia for a little bit. And
Canada.
Canada, obviously.
Which you originally are from.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So.
And then you dragged these guys, so...
Yeah.
Ish, I met you first.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved? And where are you from? Where do you hail from? And how do you get involved in this? Honestly, I would say that most people listening would be like, you guys are extreme, and this is, this is just way too much. I think talking to anyone, it's, no, I need a place, I need a roof over my head. I know you're saying, well, I do. I have food on my table.
Yeah.
But people would say, yeah, but how do you get it? You'd be like, in the dumpster. All these people throw out stuff, and I pick it out of the dumpster. People would be like, no. But yeah, we're gonna get into that. But so how did you? I want to hear how you all you guys got involved into it in this crazy ministry.
Yeah. Well, I came from Texas. I was what we considered to be a churchy. I knew my Bible, or I thought I did, and I was watching a lot of YouTube videos, and I was watching like a lot of theological videos, and the Voice in the Desert came up in the section, and I just checked it out, and it was pretty funny because like I was going to college, and at that time I was going to college, I remember I got into a debate with an atheist. And I pretty much like prove to him that God exists through like so many things.
So you considered yourself a Christian at that time?
Yeah, I thought I was like.
But you looking back now, do you think that you were a Christian?
No,
not okay.
Yeah, not in comparison to what actually Jesus taught. But at that time, I talked to that dude, and he was like, you know, yeah, you prove God exists, but you're like still a butthole, you know. And he said something more derogatory.
You cleaned it up a little bit.
Yeah, just a little, you know, the missionary censorship. But at that time, that kind of cut me to the core. I was like, man, I proved God through logic, but not through love. So, you know, it was just this one-two hit combo. Like, I felt that from that atheist, and then I watched these videos, and I was like, man, these people are out here actually loving people. This is their occupation. So yeah, I watched some of the videos with my family. My family didn't really get into it, but I was like, screw it. I ended up emailing. And I drove all the way out to California just to meet up with them. And yeah, I had my doubts, but when I got there, I was just like.
So how did you find them? These nomad people.
We just through Gmail, and like, you know, it took me a while to find them because I would email them, and then they would tell me they were somewhere. Then I would go there, but like
I gave you my phone number, and then eventually you were just communicating by phone.
Yeah.
But because we're mobile, it's like, all right, well, right now we're at this Walmart, and then he'd be like, all right, I'm coming there, and then he'd like text like a day later. You know, he's driving all the way from Texas, and then I'd be like, well, now we're not at that Walmart anymore. Now we're at this Sam's Club, or whatever, you know. Yeah.
And so, but like, how did you find them to get their email and everything? You had
through the channel,
through the YouTube channel.
A Voice in the Desert.
A Voice in the Desert. Yeah, I'll put links into that in the description.
Cool.
I'll make sure to link it all on our social media and everything. So, and in the show notes.
Awesome.
So when you start, Leo, you seem to be, you're the one that's like the senior person, I guess. You know, you've been doing this the longest.
I've been doing this longest out of just the four of us. Yeah.
So you must be like, you know, like a mentor kind of in a way.
Yeah,
like you've
I
done
guess.
this.
Yeah.
And you've seen a lot of people come and go. How do you know when someone starts communicating with you like, oh, I want to do this. I want to live for Jesus. I want to give up all my worldly possessions, because that's a big tenet of your teaching. It's like, you need to give up everything. You need to sell everything. You guys live together. Everything's like community living. Like, you share everything except for like toothpaste, deodorant, and underwear. I think you guys drew a line there. So like, but like even your clothes. I mean, you kind of know each other's clothes, but you know.
Basically, the idea is that we don't have private ownership within the community. Yeah. So you know, like you're sharing. There's some things obviously that we use that it's just us that use it. I have no reason to use Jude's toothbrush, but the idea is that we recognize that everything that is in the community belongs to the community. We share all things in common, and that comes from how the first disciples lived in the book of Acts. If you read chapters 2 and 4 specifically.
Yeah, I think it's awesome because a lot of people will say, well, you know, that was back then. This is now. This is the 20th century. You know, this is modern times. You can't live like that. But you're like, no, you can. And you
can.
Should.
And you should.
Yeah.
Because Jesus never said it was specifically for that time. And a very popular verse that a lot of Christians love to quote these days is where in Hebrews it says, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. They love to quote that verse. But then when we start sharing about how we should be living like these first disciples and like Jesus and his disciples did, they say, well, no, that was just for that time. So that doesn't line up.
So when you get these emails from people that's like, hey, I want to live this lifestyle, this sounds so exciting stuff, do you kind of get a feeling after a few emails, you're like, this person isn't like really, I don't think this person's going to make it on the road, or like, I don't think this person is necessarily genuine about it. Maybe they want more of the glory of it, because I think a lot of people be like, this is exciting, it would be a lot of good stories, and they do it for selfish means. So are you able to kind of weed that out? Like when you started talking to Ish, were you like, okay, this guy's the real deal, like I think he's gonna, and how long have you been doing this for?
Half a year.
Half a year, okay.
Yeah.
And you've been enjoying it?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So you knew when talking to him, you're like, this guy, he's got the heart for it, he's got...
Yeah, I mean, there's never really any surefire way to tell. I mean, even for myself, who knows, maybe in another year something will happen and I'll totally backslide, you know, God knows the future. But there's a parable from Jesus about the sower, who goes out to sow the seed, and he talks about seed that falls on rocky ground and seed that falls among the thorns and seed that falls on good ground. And the overall lesson from the parable is that the seed is the word of God, the teachings of Jesus. It goes out, and some people take it really quickly and they're like, oh wow, I'm really excited by this, I really want to do it, but it doesn't really have much of a root. They haven't really fully brought in and counted the cost and really absorbed everything that these teachings are saying, and so it quickly goes away. Some people will write to me. We had one guy write one time, he said, I'm 200% ready to do this. And we wrote back and said, great, when can you come? And we've never heard an email from him again since, and that was months ago. So he would be an example of that seed on stony ground. Other people will write in and they'll say, oh, man, I really want to do this, but I got a mortgage, I got a car, I got payments to make on my car, my kid really wants to go to college, they're begging me to go to college, I promised my wife I'd do such and such, all this kind of stuff. And they would be the seed that falls among the thorns, because Jesus says that the thorns are the cares of the world, and they choke out and they stop fruit from coming forth. So when people start writing and they start talking like that, even in the first email, I'm usually pretty much like, yeah, you're probably not going to make it, dude, because Jesus said, it's easier for a rich person, a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter heaven. Nevertheless, with God, all things are possible. And we do have a brother with us, he's just not here with us right now, who forsook his family, his child, and his home, and his car.
And you think that that's like something to be praised about? But some people would look at that and be like, that guy's a jerk. He had all these results. He turned his back on his family. What did...
I would say his family turned their back on him because he was telling them, well, it was just his wife. His child was so young. But he was saying, look, like, come with me. We'll live by faith together. She professes to be a Christian. It's like, why wouldn't you do this?
Yeah.
That's how a Christian is supposed to live.
And I'm torn about that.
Yeah.
On one side, I see what you're saying, but on the other side, it's like, I mean, yeah, these teachings are hard.
But he's the leader of the family. That's the thing. So it's like, look, I'm the husband here. I'm telling you, come with me. You're going to be okay. And he's been living this life now for like 8 months. And it's like, look, God is taking care of us. Why won't you come? And the reason is because she loves the world. She wants the material things. She likes having nice things. She likes being able to go to Pizza Hut. It could be also scared, but scared of what? What is she afraid of? That her child dying from what? Starving.
I don't know.
Am I starving to death? Are these guys starving to death?
No, but that's because you met me and I made you soup.
That, you know what I mean? Like, see, we have these fears, but when you go through the motions and you actually say, look, I'm doing this. I'm living by faith. God is taking care of me. I'm healthy. I'm looked after. I have a roof over my head. I'm wearing clothes. At least for right now, I'm not dying. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Maybe I'll die. But right now, I'm alive. So what is there to be afraid of? And I think that is the plague of in humanity right now, this human condition where people are so... They're holding on to something that they really have no control over. It's this kind of thing that's like, my future, my hopes, my dreams, my life, everything, my plans, the American dream. I need it all. I need to hope. I need the insurance. That's why you have health insurance, you have life insurance, you have funeral insurance, all these different insurance. Okay, I'm all set. And yet, God says, tonight your soul is required of you. That's the parable of the rich fool. It's like, you fool.
Is that like what he's talking about when he says, don't build your house on sandy soil? Is the sandy soil your job and or is that different? Actually,
in a sense, I suppose. Actually, what he says at the end of the Sermon on the Mount is that if you hear these teachings of mine, because he's just finished teaching a lot of different things, he says, if you hear these teachings of mine and you do them, then you are building your house on a rock, so that when the troubles of the world come, your house will stand. But if you hear these teachings of mine and you don't do them, you're building on the sand. So when these troubles come, then your house is going to fall. But the parable of the rich fool is about a man who builds himself a nice big barn, and everything's going really well for him, and he's like, I'm set. Everything's great. And God says, you fool, your soul is required of you tonight. So and this isn't only Christianity that teaches this. If I know that in Hinduism, I believe it's also something that's taught, and probably in Buddhism as well. It's this kind of letting go, this letting go of the desire to have complete control over everything that happens in your life. To just stay alive. to survive. I need so much to just be alive and look after myself, and everything has to be perfect and everything is in the right order. But that's not really living, because you could lose it all, and who knows what could happen. An asteroid could hit the Earth. Then what? What have you done with all of your insurance claims? And all that stuff. It's like. Yeah.
So you find only true meaning in following Jesus' teaching. That's why you give up everything.
Yeah.
Give up any material things and anything like that, and any reliance on money or anything like that, to travel around the country teaching people about Jesus' teachings.
That's
specifically.
it. Yeah.
Give me some of Jesus' teachings that draw you, so that make you want to do this, because this is not an easy life, and I'm sure that you have a smile on your face. You're right. You're not starving.
Yeah.
You all seem to be in pretty good health.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that there's times where it's lonely, where it's cold, where maybe you're kind of frustrated, you're questioning what you're doing and where you're at. I mean, or maybe I could be wrong. Maybe
lonely, I wouldn't say, because we live together 24/7. So if anything, we might hope for a little bit more. But no, I would say that those tough times come. But I would also say that, is there any of us here that doesn't want to experience some of those tough times? Why do people go camping? Why do they like to go rough it? Why do they go rock climbing? Why do athletes run until they vomit? They do those things because they get some sort of satisfaction from them. There's something about going through difficulties, going through stress, and experiencing tough times that people like. It helps them to grow in some way. No pain, no gain. That's the saying, right? So
what doesn't kill you make you stronger.
Yeah, exactly. So we do experience little things like that, but I wouldn't say we experience much more than just your average person.
So what about Jesus? Okay, but still, it is still a more difficult life. Or maybe you would argue.
I would say no.
Okay.
I would say the more difficult life is a 9-to-5 job, where you're not doing anything that you enjoy, and where your whole existence is based on, I have to do this, I have to get up in the morning, go to this building that I hate, work around a bunch of people that don't really have much of an interest in me or care about where they're heading in life or where I'm heading in life, and then come home and maybe waste my time away on drugs or television, and live for the weekend, and then do it all over again. That to me is hell. That is what the good news is that you can escape that.
Okay, but the standard would be the 9-to-5. So what about Jesus, and what about his teachings that make you be like, this needs to be my full-time job, not only my 40 hours a week job, but I would say probably you guys are probably out there more than 8 hours a day on some days, giving out DVDs and talking to people.
Yeah.
And I know, at least you've invested a lot more than 8 hours into me and our conversation.
Sure.
So so what about him and his teachings that make this even more than a full-time job, or make you want to work for Jesus more in a full-time capacity?
Yeah.
I was
just clearing my throat.
Oh, okay.
I can answer the question if you want.
Well, this is Lazarus. I was gonna move on to Lazarus, and so why don't you quickly? First of all, you're my Jersey boy.
Yeah.
I'm originally from New Jersey. If you people didn't know,
I'm Lazarus.
but he originally hails from New Jersey. So how did you get involved with these nutcases?
Well, okay. One day I got really high, and then I watched a video on YouTube. It wasn't from the Voice in the Desert. It was from a song I used to sing when I went to vacation Bible school with my neighbors. Because I wasn't a professing Christian or anything like that. I was pretty agnostic, or maybe not like full blown hate theist like Richard Dawkins or something, but. I didn't really, believe in the whole Christianity thing, because I saw all the people and how they were just really uncool. Basically, I didn't want to hang out with people. Yeah, well, because that's all I saw them as is people who go to church on Sunday and then they think they're better than everyone else. So I was like, forget that. That's for morons, man. I don't want to do that. But I got high. I got really high one day and watched a music video of Our God is an Awesome God, and I was like, oh man, and then it had all these pictures of of nature and the creation and everything, and I was like, all right, I guess I can't really deny that there's something there. There has to be something there. There's something there to this. There's some kind of truth. There must be some kind of truth out there. So then I just kind of got a Bible and started.
So you believe that using drugs could be an avenue to get closer to God?
Well, yeah,
in many cases, in some situations, at least for some people, to have some connection with God potentially.
Yeah, I mean, if that's like, it may be sometimes the only way God can use really to reach somebody. Because if, like me myself, I turned myself off to everything that had to do with Christianity. I was never even going to pick up a Bible myself. So the only avenue to do that, like, I guess somehow use me when I'm high to do that. But it's not like you should go out and start shooting up heroin so that you can go talk to God or
exactly.
or like
the main thing is that God can use anything to reach anybody.
Yeah.
So he has used drugs, sure, to reach some people, but I would not recommend to anybody who's trying to find their way spiritually that they should go out and do drugs. I would say pick up the Bible and read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
That's right. Yeah. So, yeah, through that experience there, I just started reading the Bible and basically researching stuff that happened in the earlier books in the Old Testament, like Genesis and such. And I was like seeing like the physical, looking up the physical representations of these things, because I always heard that's a myth or a fairy tale. Nothing like that really happened. But then when you start, when I put myself in the shoes and the mindset, maybe let me try living as if someone who did believe this really happened. What would they what would they go to see? What would they try to find in order to make that belief that they had in their head like a reality? So I basically figured out, I found through, a lot of Googling and a lot of, well, maybe not so much YouTube, but just a lot of reading articles and reading different things that, like, there is like some kind of, to others, it may not really help them or make their belief solid and firm, but to me it was like, all right, that's it right there. There's physical proof of stuff that happened in Genesis happening. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna believe it. And at that point I was like, all right, the Bible is, I guess, it's true. The whole Bible, not necessarily. I never found the Gospels yet, but I was like, there's something in here that's true. So I'm gonna stick with this for a while. So then I went to church. I started becoming like a Christian, how everyone thinks a Christian is, where they go to church, because I was like, well, I'm supposed to do this, I think, because everyone else does it, so I'm going to try and do this because this is supposed to be the way you're supposed to follow God. So I'm going to go to church, and I went to church for a couple months, and I was just like, man, this is like missing something. There's some kind of, like, I just had this remarkable emotional experience, and I thought, I had to do something in response to that. But instead of doing something, all the people at the church were just like, no, what are you talking about? No, you just sit back and relax. Jesus took care of it all. You can just have your one-way ticket to heaven right here. Okay, you don't have to do anything. All you should do is just come to church and sing karaoke for an hour, and then listen to me talk. And yeah, that was what I experienced. I'll listen to the pastor's sermon on the Super Bowl, that how he relates it to Paul, saying, "Yo, we should all run the race of our faith." Oh yeah, he's a fan of running, like that was in the Olympics, and it was just a ridiculous show. Really, it was a show. It wasn't like a place to go where you want to learn more about the Bible and God and Jesus. It's just a place that people are showing themselves off. Not anything about God besides the songs you sing, like, oh Jesus my Savior, blah 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 blah. But there's no meat, like even the Bible talks about, you feed the kid milk, even in real life now you feed a baby milk, and then when he's older he gets to eat actual food, So I was that baby who was drinking the milk that God was giving me from the church in the beginning, but then I was like, I need something else. This isn't, it can't satisfy me. I have something else I want to do for God. But all these people say not to do anything. So I was kind of like confused. I was like,
really, they didn't want you to do anything.
Yeah, they didn't want to do anything.
That's surprising, because at least a lot of churches will be like, well, you should try to serve in this way, or that way, But
They'll usually tell you that those things are things that you can do if you feel called to do it.
Yeah.
But it's not a requirement, because the bottom line is you are once saved, always saved.
So whatever you do, it doesn't matter, because your name is already written in heaven, and you have the finest mansion and Rolls Royce waiting for you at the pearly gates as soon as you get up there. But that's a load of, I thought to myself, I was like, that's nothing. That's nonsense, man. There has to be something I can do, something that God wants me to do. And so then I figured out, I was watching YouTube a lot, basically watching videos on the church hypocrisy, and watching like other preachers, and how they're even saying, some of them are saying, you don't need to go to church. This is just the building. It's all about the people. And then I started reading the Gospels of, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I started reading what Jesus said. Although I may not have understood it like immediately, some of that stuck in my mind. And then I went to church later and I compared it. Like, I read where he says, not to pray, don't do your prayers in secret, not to be seen of men. And I see in church, they're all up there on the stage, oh, Holy Father, we pray, blah, 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 that you bless us. And, they do it for everyone to hear and do it for everyone to see. When Jesus says to go do it in private, do it in your secret, your prayer closet, so that no one can hear you, no one can see you except for God. He's the only one who needs to see you when you're praying. So I was like, that's right there. Oh, look, a living example of something that I don't agree with. So, I'm going to can it. I'm not going to go to church anymore. Forget this. This is a waste of my time. They're not following what Jesus says. So now I want to, I'll just keep reading the Bible myself and trying to figure out what's what on my own and with God's help. So I did that for a time until I found the Voice in the Desert channel on YouTube, where it was just popped out of nowhere, really. It was like in related videos or something. And I checked it out.
Algorithms, you were saved.
Yeah, the monkeys, like they always say, the monkeys that run YouTube.
They're saving souls.
That's right. Yeah, and then I found that the channel only had like 2 subscribers and 3 videos on it. And it was like a video about what is Christianity. There's different answers, the self-help group, or a book club or something. What's the real reason Christianity is around? It's not to help you out. It's that you can help God out. He doesn't need you to help him, but if you want to do it, then you're gonna be rewarded for just being good, basically. And it's like, oh, that makes sense. So then I just started watching this YouTube channel, until it finally came to, there was the number 5 video. They have a series on the teachings of Jesus on the YouTube channel, and they go over different teachings out of the 4 Gospels. And it gets to number 5, where it's the most hated teaching of Jesus, and it's all about forsaking all, like what we talked about off the mic, or off the record here. But it's really about just giving up all your material possessions and saying, I don't trust in this. I don't trust in the material to satisfy me. I trust in God. He can provide for my needs.
Because all the material's meaningless.
Yeah, it's because
it
can be.
It's all just fake, essentially. It's all built off of value that we put on it, and it's all everything is just meaningless.
Yeah, and in order to prove that to God and yourself too, you need to give it up, and then because Jesus says, if you take no thought, if you seek the kingdom of God first, all the things you need, like food and clothing and anything like that's going to be taken care of if you are doing the works that God wants you to do. So if you release all the stuff that you had, like your job, your car, your girlfriend, your whatever, anything like that, and if you just give it all up and then try to do what is right, which is what Jesus says to love people, basically, show them the love of God, and teach them the teachings of Jesus, teach them so that they can teach others the teachings of Jesus. You're going to be taken care of by God, by your Father in heaven, who sees that. So I was like, oh man, that sounds pretty promising there. But even though for a day I was like, man, I don't need to follow this. What is he talking about? I'm not a slave to my job. I can quit anytime I want. But then I was like, well, if that's true, why don't I just do that now? Why don't I just quit my job now if I'm not a slave to this dollar?
It's like the world will say you need to amass a lot of money, and that's what gives you freedom.
Yes.
It gives you financial security. You'll be able to buy stuff. You'll be able to live comfortably. But you're going around. You've forsaken everything. Almost like not only to have the freedom to go around and teach people, but also to be an example that you can do these things and live like this. And pretty much you're saying, no, this is actual freedom.
Yes.
And like to live, if we can create some sort of community that's built off of the free exchange of, hey, Leo, man, I make bread, I love you, I'm going to make you bread. You know, something like that. That would be the ideal. And kind of when money gets inserted into it, it's corrupted and it becomes this evil, hierarchy scenario.
Yes, because money
system.
is a way of saying, I'll do this for you, but I'm only going to do it if you give me this in exchange. Whereas the kingdom of heaven is not even bartering or trading. It's saying, I'm going to do this because there's a need for this.
And that's what the teaching of Jesus, and that's why you're giving up everything. That's why you're clinging so close to Jesus, and that's why you go around and teach, because it's revolutionary. It's revolutionary.
Exactly.
It was revolutionary back then, 2,000 years ago, and it's revolution. I would say it's potentially even more revolutionary.
Absolutely.
Today. Than it was back then, especially in
so
America.
Focused. Exactly.
America is
money makes the
horrible.
world go round. They say.
Oh yeah. I mean, America is terrible when it comes. I mean, we're capitalist society. We believe that the bigger house you have, the more stuff you have. That
says
equals
more about
God's
you as a person.
blessing
Exactly.
on you, which is completely antithetical to everything that Jesus is and everything that Jesus taught.
Yeah. Because the thing is,
we have someone that's $4 billion. His net worth is $4 billion in the White House, and claims that he's a Christian.
That's right. It's a joke.
It's a joke.
And that's the thing. Like, see, this is what Jesus did for us. He gave everything of himself. He gave so much of his time that he had to retreat to desert areas just to be able to regenerate himself, because he was giving so much of his time and energy to healing people and to preaching to people. And then, after it all, he died for us. So that's how much he loved us. And he tells us to go out and to love others as I have loved you. So if we're going to do that, then at the very least, I can make you a loaf of bread. At the very least. Yeah. But really what I need to be doing is laying down my life for everyone, giving all my time for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. And Lazarus, how long have you been doing this? And
6 months, and pretty soon, in 6 days, it'll be 7 months.
No, but who's counting? No, but you like it. It's been totally fulfilling. It's you feel as though this is my calling. Yes, this is absolutely what I'm supposed to be doing, and I've never felt this joy and freedom in my life.
Yeah,
you would definitely attest to that.
Yeah,
and not just because Leo is sitting there. I feel like I know you guys are all.
Yes.
I know you guys are all equal.
I've got a little gun in his back.
You guys can't see it. You can't see it, but he's got a switchblade in my neck right now.
I know you guys are all equal and stuff, but Leo, I don't know. I always see you as maybe the ringleader, just because you're the one who has done it. The one you have the most experience. It's experience.
If we were here with some of our other friends who have been doing this even longer than me, they'd probably be doing even more talking than I am because that's just the way it is. I've got most of the experience, but my goal, even just as a leader amongst us here, the four of us, is to make myself obsolete. These guys are going to be leaders too, and they're looking for other people to show them the way to do it.
So the ideal would be you would train these people. I'm assuming this is. I'm pretty sure this is how it worked with the disciples, where pretty much you would train these people, then Ish, Jude, Lazarus, you guys would go out and almost get your own little groups and then train them and work with them and get some 1986 RV, and travel around and such, and just kind of going really wherever the Holy Spirit leads you to go to, and you don't even know, you happen to stay here last night, but we were talking this morning, I was like, so if someone had a dream, and you guys believe that God speaks through dreams and visions and such, so if someone had a dream, you'd be like, we would be gone. We'd be out of here. We wouldn't be sticking around, which is pretty amazing.
We want to be totally open to wherever God wants us to go, because He may tell us to go here one day and here the next day. Who are we to make the plans?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Now, Jude, sorry, You still over there, buddy?
Still
we
here.
we didn't forget about you. I'm sorry. We're making our way. There's a lot of questions.
Right.
Okay, so Jude, give us your story. How did you get involved with these guys?
Sure.
Where are you from and all that?
It's a bit of a process. Let's see. When I was 25, I actually come from a church background. My grandfather was a pastor of a church for almost 30, 40 years, and also had an aunt and uncle who did the same thing. So they've been within their ministry for about 10, 15 years or so. But it was only the most exciting part was within the last year or so. I was living in Long Beach, and I would go between Long Beach and Alaska. I worked in Alaska. So I was
What were you doing in Alaska?
I was a boat foreman, longshoreman. So I work up there in Bristol Bay in Naknek, Alaska, and I would be when they bring in fish. I was a fisherman for the most part.
Oh, cool. Well, that's apropos to
and
disciples. You'll make
interesting, right?
fishers of all men or
Right,
whatever.
so, but even before that as well, I had I was a jack of all trades, but a master of none, if you will. So I kind of jumped in different industries, and so. But that was kind of a pivotal, point in my life. I was kind of going back and forth. I was living in California, so like I said, I lived in Long Beach, and I go between there and Alaska, and life is good, or so I thought. And I'd make a big chunk of change, and then I just kind of go to the beach every day, and I was just I was set, but I just felt so empty. But anyhow, I was kind of searching for truth, and years prior to that, I was searching of why we didn't have free or energy for the most part, and I was kind of curious why are these things? Surely we've come along so far technologically that we could, we have these options available. We're still on crude oil. Why is that? And sure enough, there are things out there, but
which destroys the environment. The crude
exactly
oil
right.
And coal and all that. Yeah.
Exactly. And even on the other side, as what's being done with our money? Why we haven't progressed that far? And then also, why it seems like the government keeps screwing us over. Higher taxes, all this stuff, whatever. What I came down to it is just it was greed for the most part. It's greed on both sides. But even still, as I progress further and further, it's like, well, I'm seeing all this. What's the other alternative? How can we truly fight this? And then I kind of had a revelation. It was last October. I was in Long Beach. It's like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and just kind of realized that Jesus Christ is Lord. It's just extremely simple. But even from that point, it progressed more and more in truth.
You just out of nowhere?
It was out of nowhere. I was kind of exactly right.
Place. Wow.
And so from that point, I kind of searched more and more. And even up to that point, I was always in and out of church, and I was I just kind of lived however I wanted to. I did a bunch of drugs, sold drugs, all this kind of stuff. Was into music a lot. Just kind of did whatever I want, however I want, whenever I wanted. And so it was up to this point where it's like nothing's bringing me fulfillment. It's like even I want to donate my time. I was always interested in doing all these services, whatever the case would be. I just needed not so much direction, but I had to be something more. And even before that point, like I said, I was in drugs and such, and I realized that there's more to life than just the flesh. There's more to life than material stuff. There's got to be something more than this. And then upon stumbling across that, I found out, like I said, Jesus Christ is Lord. It's like, well, okay, I believe that. I believe there is God. And it's like, but am I just going to go into the institution? I mean, like I said, I have family that were pastors and such, and I kind of presented this to them, and they just kind of just blew me off. And in fact, I kind of thought about it. It's like, it seems like those that are truly following Christ, or they say they're following Christ, that are part of the institutional church, like when I was kind of reaching out to them, they just kind of threw me aside. And so I kind of sat there and thought about that. In fact, a lot of the family that's within that ministry, they can't stand one another. It's like, why is this?
So there's hatred within. They just hated each other.
Exactly.
Wow.
And I was just curious. It's like, why do they claim to follow, love Christ, and yet they can't love one another? It's like, why is that? And so upon I left Long Beach, I went back to Ohio, which is where I'm originally from, and sharing these things I kind of found with family, and it's just a wild ride. So I was there for about 4 or 5 months roughly, and still kind of looking for direction. And of all the conversations that I've had with them, because like I said, they're primarily church background for the most part, and then there was a certain point to where I was like, well, it's like I'm not working at that point. I kind of left Alaska, and it's like, well, I guess I'm going to start looking for a job. And so I went out, and it seemed like that I got a job. It was like I was supposed to start. It was relatively good pay too, and it's like, well, it just seems like this is something God wants me to do. So be it. And
a week later, the position was taken away. They said, we're going to go a different direction. It's like, well, that's very odd. For whatever reason, they didn't give me a reason or anything. It was like, I was going to get angry with God. It's like, it seemed like it lined up perfectly.
Yeah.
But I was going to get extremely mad. But then, I just thought to myself, like, I know you see. So thank you for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I know you see this. And then immediately the next day, I entered a voice in the desert. And it was kind of an answer, not so much through voice.
I'm sorry, you found the voice in the desert, the YouTube thing.
Exactly right. And it was
so most of the people that contact you guys find the YouTube. Is that
generally speaking? Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Algorithms.
Yeah.
But even to that point, it was I was there's YouTube offers a lot of outlets for exchange of ideas and such, and like I said, at that point I was kind of checking out different. Well, what is truth, and so. I just kept digging, and like I said, there's all these things I was kind of battling with. It's like I can't understand why people are so greedy. Even the money that I'm earning, it goes towards wars that I don't agree with. It goes towards practices I don't agree with. Mm-hmm. So there has to be something better. And then it's essentially that God answered. I was just wanting to know truth, whatever that truth was, as long as it was His truth. Mm-hmm. And then from that point, just like it was like, this is awesome. This is good news. This is amazing. I don't have to worry about going out and working for food or for a place to stay or clothes or anything. Jesus said, think of the birds. God takes care of them, feeds them. If He loves them and takes care of them, how much more will He take care of you? Think of the daisies of the field, how they're clothed. They're here today and gone tomorrow. How much more does He love you? Will He take care of you? And I think it's even some of the conversations we were having earlier. It's like how it's a bit of fear. That is what faith is. We're actually walking out in fear. It always reminds me of Peter when he walked out in the water, walking out on just waves. He's defying physics. And he called out to Christ, like, if it is you, call me out. Have me come out there. And sure enough, He did. And it's like that's walking on real faith. And so, in turn, there was a bit of fear, sure. But that's when you practice real faith. Is that, you're walking into the unknown. I had no idea what was going to happen when I came out here. But even if it didn't work out, or these people were crazy, whatever the case may be, it's like
murderers.
Exactly. It's like, I believe God, even if I would die from that, like we were saying earlier, it's like we are pursuing Christ like truthfully and sincerely. Even if I do die, or if I just wind up leaving, it's like I'm trying to follow Him the best I can. I think there's a pastor that said really interesting. It's like if we die and then show up, if we're literally trying to follow Christ and we show up in front of heaven's gates, like, oops, here we are, trying to follow you literally. It's like, but I had faith enough that I think He would take care of me. I think He would clothe me. I think He's got my back, where I may go, even if it might be in the middle of nowhere. And sure enough, almost 6 months into it, it's like I'm a living testimony of how it is. And it's amazing how that is. It's it's like we were talking about last night, that we become, it's not so much what we're saying, it's the life that we're living becomes that testimony, that we don't go out there and work for money, to pay for things. We don't necessarily rely on people to give us things. God is much greater than that. Whether it be if we're in the middle of nowhere, we find something, to make clothing or food, or I think God is much greater than that. And just by going out and stepping out and walking on with faith, that we're able to see how great He is. And I think that's what is so revolutionary about this, is that we're able to love those that hate us. Jesus said, love your enemies. Not so much love your enemies that it's convenient for you at the time, it's those that hate you, whatever that may be, on someone within the streets, or if someone's literally trying to kill you, and everyone in between. So it is a revolution, even more of today, because it's about actually stepping out and losing all these things, dropping everything that we thought we needed. We need just food and clothing. God said He'll take care of us. So I think it's just amazing how you can literally see through what Jesus taught, how it is He is the Son of God, how He is who He said He is, and what He proclaimed to be, is because by walking in that faith that we're able to see how He works. It's pretty amazing.